I saw a little beach view, and then I lost you, and it froze and everything. So
Yeah, I've been in San Clemente since I was 16 or 17.
oh, okay. You know, Adam Watts over at Fight Strong.
Oh yeah, I've known Adam for a long time.
Yeah, he was on the podcast 2 weeks ago.
Nice. He's a good dude. He's a really good guy.
Yeah, he did mention when he's one of those guys that I said, how you doing? And then he talked for a half an hour. So it was great. But I did remember he said when he was coming up, he was rolling with guys like you and a couple others. So I thought there was a connection there for sure.
Yeah, and we're both been in the game for a long time, and it's he's a really good guy, man. I need to go down to his gym more and work out.
Yeah, I moved out from Huntington Beach to San Clemente in last July, and I was looking for a studio, and I just walked in the back door over there. I don't know if you know Coach Dan. He's the boxing coach.
Yeah.
I just walked in. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Hey, man, I just want to put the gloves on. I want to roll." And he's like, "All right, just tell him you're with me for a week and see how you like it." I've been there ever since. And
can you hold on one second? Let me walk my daughter out to the car, and I'll be right back.
Yeah, no worries.
We take 2 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, daughter going to school?
No, she's gonna go with her mom. We split her halftime.
Yeah.
Her stepdad is on disability right now, so he's spending a bunch of time with with her and her sister. And, they're just it's their week. So I'm like, cool. I got stuff to do.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you for jumping on. I know we've been. Where were you at? You were in Mexico somewhere? Or?
I was in Tulum. Well, the first week I was in a place called Izamil, right outside Izamil. There's an old hacienda there called Chambalate, and it is the oldest one in the Yucatan. It's like 600 years old. The most beautiful place I've ever been. Mm-hmm. I went down there to sit with some shamans, some Mazatec shamans, some Shipibo shaman. We did some mushrooms, we did ayahuasca, and then we did some sapo or 5-MeO DMT. A lot of medicine in 1 week, but it was definitely doing a good job integrating it. And then after there, I went to Tulum, which is not the best place to integrate after large psychedelic drugs. But I was 3 hours away. One of my best friends lives there. I want to buy a house there. Like I want to make that my second home. I love it there so much. It's it's just good for business for me. Yeah. So I went and I basically sat at a yoga retreat down in La Playa, and just if there was a few days I had to insulate myself there and not go out on the street because it's fucking crazy down there. Right. Or late night, instead of going out to a nightclub, I would walk some friends or walk with them, walk females basically to the club or wherever they're going, at least part of the way. And I would stop by and get some food at a restaurant I know the owner at or something. Just because, I like walking around at night. I like eating street food. I like that culture. That's just what I do, whether I'm here or Bali or LA or whatever. I'm a creature of the night. So, I got to sit there for a week and integrate, and then I came home, and I don't start my new job until June 1st. So I got to just spend another week off with my kid. People don't take enough time after psychedelics to integrate and just recalibrate their brains before they go back into society, because it can be hard. I've done it wrong before myself.
Yeah. How did you get into the psychedelics? I mean, I don't know a lot about them. I mean, besides being a knucklehead kid when I was doing shrooms and stuff, but yeah. I know you're in it too, like for sports medicine, or what's the aspect that you're using them?
Yes, sports medicine, realistically. I mean, we'll get into how. I mean, I got into them to start with my own healing, with my daughter's healing. My dad's a world traveler, smuggled dope in the 70s, just cannabis, and nothing anyone ever died for, he said. And my brother, I started smoking pot when I was 8 years old. Mm-hmm. That's way too young, but at the same time, it's never done me wrong. Yeah. My daughter, she got super sick at 2 years old, 2.5, and we used cannabis to help cure her, heal her. that was the start of my healing path. Was with her. I was already running experiments on myself and my best friend who passed away. Two world champion fighters raised in Southern Orange County. Beach kids that just like, this isn't the place that breeds like that. And we did it together, Shane Del Rosario. So, but with her, she got really sick and all my focus obviously turned to that, healing her with cannabis. I make a joke about it on stage. I'm a stand-up comedian now, about, getting high with a 2-year-old, getting high with a toddler, and how funny it is. That's comedy. It's really not that funny, when your kid is sick. Like, I just lean hard onto that side because it's shock value, and I'm not that funny yet. So I've only been doing comedy for like less than a year and a half, probably about a year and a half. And I'm already signed with an agency because of, I think, of who I am and kind of the influence I have over certain industries. But that's where it started. And then once I retired, once we got her better, and now she's got her first Timmy Patterson custom surfboard. She's got skateboards and snowboards and wakeboards, and she's got horses. She does jiu-jitsu. And she's just this all-around happy kid who does a lot of stuff. She's doing the music and just very, very awesome. And I see how, maybe her medicine, cannabis, has helped her be more creative. Maybe it's helped her be more smart. It's helped drop the inflammatory response in her body and let her brain and body flourish. No more scar tissue and no more pain. But with me, when I retired, I wanted to kill myself. And I wouldn't kill myself because I don't like the way guns taste, basically. I wouldn't kill myself with my daughter. That's the main thing. And I knew, I'm different. Some people say that, but I'm a little different than most, I guess. I became the best in the world at fist fighting. Now I'm a scientific researcher and a stand-up comedian. I get obsessed with things. Like I had learning disabilities growing up. The only reason I wasn't put into special class was because I was a star athlete. I was the best wrestler, best martial artist. They knew I had some genius in me somewhere. Mm. But I didn't start to really educate myself till after school, after college. And once I dropped out of college, I was like, oh, that didn't work. So I took it upon myself to learn everything about my body, about people's bodies, about brains, about reading people's posture, and because I had to be a savage. I had to climb into a cage in my underwear to beat someone up for blood money. I had to learn how to read this person and their body language, their facial expressions, the words that are coming out of their mouth. And I used it for bad. I used it for evil, I guess. Not evil. I used it for beating people up and making money off it. Yeah. And I basically turned my energies, my energetic output into something else, and that was my own healing. I knew that psychedelics would heal. My dad always said how amazing they were, about peyote and mushrooms and everything that he ingested as a young man. And he didn't know the science of it. He just understood, there was something there, and he's just an awesome person. I'm very lucky to have my dad in my life. And then, of course, being friends with Joe Rogan and liking psychedelics. I was also a drug dealer my whole life. Sold a lot of weed, mushrooms, a lot, big packs and stuff. Which is something I did up until pretty recently with weed, at least. Not mushrooms, that would be illegal. I'll
put a disclaimer on this later.
Yeah, I'm not a drug dealer, people. Not anymore. And it was. I don't know. It's just an industry I grew up in. So I can make phone calls and probably sell 100 pounds this week. It's not that big of a deal. It's just, it's a commodity. But, knowing the science, knowing how plant medicines do for people, my own daughter, my own chemistry, like I've been ingesting these things since I was a little kid. Obviously they're going to work. I studied, I dosed. I figured out my own protocol. I've seen my psychedelics. That's one tool I took. That's just one. It was peptides as well. I mean, I was injecting myself. I still do. I'm out of them actually. I need to get more peptides. Brain-derived neurotrophic factor with NAD+, BPC or BPC blend, like 157. You've got testosterone, endogenous testosterone. I was also modulating my testosterone through TRT. My endocrine system was shot after I retired, and I had to fix that stuff. I understood that I'm never fighting again. I can cheat life because steroids are meant for the medicine. And I went through this whole process of fixing myself physically. Tons of microdosing, tons of macrodosing, to a point where it might have been a little inappropriate, but I'm fine. So I just shows people I took a lot of mushrooms, a lot of LSD, a lot of ketamine, a lot of this stuff I knew had healing benefits of it. Now it's turning into a good amount of ayahuasca. And obviously I've taken a big step back from that. I don't go to the well as much. Realistically, it was the first time I went to the well in Mexico since October, since I was on HBO. I was on HBO eating or having a mushroom ceremony with my clients and my shaman. So I figured out a process to fix my receptors, my actual brain, my body. I don't have much inflammation much anymore, and I've had a lot of surgeries. I've got a lot of damage in my body, a lot of trauma, and I was better, but I was still mentally weak and mentally confused, and I just didn't know who I was. I was stuck on happy. I wear this butt snorkeler short shirt. My daughter hates it. Today she's like, "Will you cover that up?" When her stepdad came, I had to cover it up, wear a sweatshirt. Such a, but I was emotionally and spiritually bankrupt, or just void, I guess is a better word. I lost, Jesus and all that Catholic stuff. I went to all the Catholic schools here in Orange County. It was my whole life. I got kicked out of most of it. And I didn't, and nothing bad happened to me in Catholic school either. It was no one touched me. I just beat everyone up and didn't take shit from anybody. I just was disenfranchised with it, and even now, as I follow a spiritual path, I don't really preach about it or talk about it because it's no one else's business. But it's definitely not Catholicism or Christianity that I follow. It's more Eastern philosophy. I'm a martial artist. Kung Fu is the essence of my life. Yoga is a major part of my life. Kundalini. That's sort of where I go. I don't believe all of it. I find my own truth, sort of thing. But through once eventually, because when you take specifically mushrooms as a microdose, you're creating a process called epigenetic neurogenesis. That's the healing of the brain matter. The receptor sites, both hemispheres of your brain, are speaking much more fluidly. Old receptors and old pathways are being rebuilt and being put in a positive light instead of a negative light, a negative energy, negative trauma-based sort of thing. Then if you look at patterning with work, no matter what you do, or efficiency with work, that stuff goes through the roof. So as someone who has the work ethic to do a lot of stuff, to accomplish the things I've accomplished, this is perfect for me. This is how I have a little social anxiety, and I'm performing on stage. So that when I go up on stage, most of the time I'm on LSD or mushrooms, and not a bunch. That's just sometimes for the shows where that's like psychedelic psycho show. I'll take maybe a little too much and kind of ride the line, but that's funny. That's that's the purpose of the show. And it's about being able to now kind of play with these medicines and know what I need to use it for. Performing, I love LSD. For physical work, I love psilocybin. For going to the gym and doing jiu-jitsu or doing strength conditioning or cardio or whatever it is. Connecting with nature as well. Connecting with nature on ayahuasca is possibly my favorite for just being in nature, being in the jungle. But there's a lot behind that. It's where mushrooms is the fungus, the neural network of the world, and of the jungle. You have the plants itself. Grandmother ayahuasca, she's the top plant. So it's I don't know, I went off on a tangent there, but the healing properties. I got a lot done, and now I get to teach it. I speak for MAPS, the largest organization, Psychedelics in the world. I set the UFC up with Johns Hopkins University for a TBI study. I've been bugging them for like 3 years about it. And just, I finally get validation for the work I've been doing,
Right.
And it feels really good because my whole life's about validation. Again, I had to climb into that cage to get validation,
Yeah.
and physically take it from someone else, you know? So it was like, um, having these dorks, these people in maps and these nerds in science, that I'm one of them. I'm like, guys, I'm just like you. I just look a little different. I had to make this body armor look this way because of my job that I chose. You know, so I've done a lot of cool stuff lately, and it's cool to see it all paying off.
Did you experiment with the microdosing and all that during your fighting career? I know you
No,
said you
I wish.
yeah.
Yeah, I was microdosing things like fentanyl and heroin and opiates. Um, you know, I wouldn't say microdosing. That's a joke. I was taking way too much.
Yeah.
When fentanyl stops working, like, it's a bad thing. You know,
Yeah.
like to get off fentanyl to Oxycontin, just to bridge that gap. Not even getting off Oxycontin. It's so hard. Oh my God. Um, you know, it was really gnarly, and that's why I took so much peptide, especially specifically BDNF and NAD plus. That was big. But if I would have been able to have psychedelics like I do now, um, you know, the one time I became sober, I became the best in the world.
Yeah.
And I use that as an example. Number one, I'm not the only guy like that. I'm not the only guy who has that much potential. Um, but I, you know, yeah, if I would have had psychedelics like I do now back then, I would have been champion for a long time, and I would have been a really good person.
Does USADA test, like, what is that flag on USADA? I know a lot of
It doesn't. That's part.
doesn't.
No. See, that's the thing. I still work with the UFC, obviously. You know, I'm their bridge to Johns Hopkins. They ask me all kinds of healing stuff and how I can work with these people, how I can help their athletes. So I mean, that right there feels so good. This is my life's work. I don't want to ever climb into a cage and hurt anybody ever again, and I don't want them to do it to me.
Yeah.
Like that. Fuck that noise. I was just hitting pads in Vegas last weekend, and I think my hands broke. Like, my hand's so jacked up in the first place. See that? Like, that's my finger stuck like that. And I think I wasn't even hitting hard. I was just messing around, and I think I fractured my hand or something. My body's done.
Yeah.
You know, it's a mess.
So does the micro and the psychedelic stuff, does that help the healing of your joints and your muscles and stuff, or is that just for
Yes.
the mind?
It has yeah. We're still trying to figure out the science. I should say they are still trying to figure it out. I've taken a step back from trying to prove myself as a scientist or a scientific researcher. You know, because I don't want to run FDA trial. I own part of a pharmaceutical company. I was about to run FDA trials and find like, whoa, wait a second, how are you in here? Like, you're not a doctor or a scientist. How the fuck did you get in this door? Like, you can't do this. No way, get out of here. And I was a little disenfranchised at first, a little butthurt, but I'm like, I know more than all of you, you know, like, but realistically, I know testing, and I've read all their work, all of it. So it's like, I have a vast understanding. My job is to be the educator. Because I'm not the doctor or scientist, I can say things that they can't. And getting to the healing part of it, I mean, these things, it heals your actual physical body and brain, has a huge anti-inflammatory response, and then it heals your pain receptors and your opioid receptors. And those are the things that are messed up because of damage, you know, because of chemical damage, because of physical damage, things like that. So you're actually healing a lot of stuff. And if you can mix your microdoses in with things like high dose CBD and turmeric, and black pepper, you know, things like that. There's a bunch of stuff. Willowborg, the list goes on.
Yeah.
You'll get a huge response out of your body.
So I'm not educated at all in this. So my experience was, we used to go down to San Onofre in high school and just grab a bag of mushrooms and just walk around down there. Sorry, Mom, if you're going to listen to this, but we'd go down there and just walk the trails, and there's tunnels under the freeway, all that. So how do you know the difference between like for that was like an all night experience, right? Like, and if you don't want to do that, like, you know, do you just take a little cap, or like, how do you microdose? What's a microdose to just like really functional, right?
Yeah. A microdose is supposed to be a sub-perceptual dose. Mm-hmm. And that's what I tell people, like, you're not high. You're not supposed to feel this. That's the thing. And if you do feel a little bit, it's just a buzz of energy. It's called adenosine triphosphate. or other things that you can put in there, adaptogens or whatever you're adding into it. It's focus, it's clarity. You're measuring everything out. This isn't just, I'm going to take it willy-nilly. Like I had one fighter, I gave him microdoses. And of course, I get it. The fighting community, the community at large, general life, thinks I'm crazy because of who I used to be, because of what I talk about now. I get it. And I give them to one fighter, dosed out perfectly. This is the formulation that made me a big deal in science. They're like, oh my God, you did it. And I was like, I did what? You guys should figure this out too. It's not that hard. And I gave it to a fighter, and then he just like put it on the shelf and didn't take it. He goes, oh, I've been taking mushrooms. I was like, oh, cool. You've been taking the blend. How do you like it? He's like, oh no, I've been taking just ones that someone else gave me. And I was like, oh, what's the milligram? He's like, oh, and I was like, honestly, fuck you. I was like, you're being a dick. I did all this. I got so butthurt. I was like, what are you doing? Take what? Well, I'm like, okay, never mind. You know what? Just do whatever you want to do. I was so butthurt. It's just like a good friend of mine. But you have to understand dosing. Now, a subperceptual dose is supposed to be from 0.025, more realistically like 0.05, so 50 milligrams, all the way up to about 500 milligrams. 500, you start to feel it at about 200 to 250 milligrams. So a 500 microdose is what I do, 400 to 500, because my body's adapted to it, and that's what I like to do. I like to be elevated. It's like smoking a joint before training. But I'm not like high. Whereas half a gram would get some people where they couldn't function, or they couldn't do what I'm doing at least. But I would say a perfect microdose for most people is about 100 milligrams or 0.1 of a gram, maybe to 0.2. Like I said, at a 0.2, you'll probably start feeling it. But again, if you like that feeling, then why not? It's a buzz. Yeah. You have it for about 6 hours, and it will improve everything in your life. Like literally, I mean, some people shouldn't take mushrooms or any psychedelics. I want to get that out of there. I teach harm prevention. Some people this isn't built for. If you're on certain medications, talk to a doctor first. If your doctor is not into it, which most of them are not, go look up Dr. Benjamin Malcolm, the spirit pharmacist, online. He's incredible. He knows all the psychopharmacology behind everything, what interactions they have. But let's say this works for you. You start taking it, you have an uptick in all 5 senses. And I'm going to sound really woo-woo right now, but you have like your 6th sense, where you can energetically feel people. It's true. Take them and you'll see. So people look at flow state as this very basic thing. It's very broad. Again, it adds in all 5 senses. So all 5 senses are heightened. Then you have your mental efficiency. Your processing speed is much faster. Your brain and your body link up, and they work much more efficiently. Whether it's getting into the physical, your body moves like silk. Everything. Your kinetic chain is very, very good. Your posture is good. Your breath work is good. You have something called the default mode network that drops the fear response. So, you're able to get in there and like the fight or flight response. You're able to not be afraid of getting tired or working, of getting distracted, because it just doesn't happen, and you're happy. Yeah. You can work on whether it's agoraphobia or anxiety, depression, all that stuff gets lifted with that fear response, because the default mode network is what's protecting us from all the traumas and everything in our life. Now, anxiety, depression, all that stuff is tied back to trauma. So what has happened in your life gets embedded in your tissue at whatever age, young, old. It gets embedded in your tissue, then it will manifest as those things. This is all science, and it sounds kind of woo-woo, but there's someone else much smarter than I figured this out. And those things will then inappropriately come out when you don't want them to. Like I said, anxiety, depression, get into a cage and do that, or go into a competition and get this jitters. Oh, I can't compete. You're on this stage. You're here for a reason. You know how to do this. You're just not knowing how to deal with trauma in your life. Yeah. So obviously big doses help deal with trauma much better. The therapeutic doses 3.5 to 5 grams, 10 grams, or like I did 20, which was called the God dose. Very, very enlightening. And these things just make you work better. And then of course that 6th sense is that energetic feel. You are able to look at people and analyze them in a very good way. You're able to go, oh, I see your face, the way your face looks, and your posture is, and your breath, you're sighing. I can listen to the stories you're saying. Neurolinguistics programming. What are the stories you're telling yourself, and what are the stories you're telling other people?
Mm-hmm.
Those are a big deal. And if you understand those sort of things, you can kind of help guide someone out of them, or the negative programming, and help them into positive stuff, and not program them yourself like a lot of Western psychologists and psychotherapists do. They're just getting in your brain, trying to program you because they know it's safe, especially when you're medicated. Sorry, I have a big issue with, I don't know, since I have a big issue, I have an issue with Western psychology or modern psychology because it's very flawed. They're good tools, and plus it's most of these people that are insane that are doing it for you. You have to have this conversation, this relationship with someone who went to school because they're really fucked up and they studied all this stuff, and then now you have to have a relationship with them and count on them for your own like brain. Like, I don't know. When now I have a lot of these same people coming to people like me going, hey, I realize what I'm doing isn't working. And I'm kind of a fraud, or at least the whole business is. How do we change this? Because their tools work. But if you go into your psychotherapist's office or psychologist's office while you're microdosed, or maybe on half a gram,
yeah,
you'll have some real breakthroughs.
So
now I like to. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I like to call them performance breakthroughs, but performance doses, because with my people, with myself, most of the breakthroughs I have are not in a psychology office. They're on the mat. They're in the gym. I take a larger dose as a performance dose. Yeah. And, whether it's like, if I was going to go fight again, I would take probably 2 grams, 2.5 grams, which is a lot for most people. But I want to be super elevated or high when I perform, because then I'm in a rarefied air of performance that people don't quite understand. And they'll get there, but you can also have those same breakthroughs just laying on the couch with your doctor, having a serious talk.
Yeah. So it heightens your mental awareness, but it doesn't physically make you stronger or anything. Like you said, you would take 2 grams before a fight. It's just mentally making you aware of what the opponent's doing and everything.
Yes. And your body will move better. Your body, your bones will stack better. You'll have better posture. Your breath will work better. Like I said, you won't be afraid to get tired. So you're just breathing this very easy cycle. You just, because if you're performing, the breath you need to be at. It's not like you're like, oh, where do I be? Where do I get at? So it's, or at least your body knows. Even if your brain is not understanding, your body will make it happen.
So when you say you're still tied to the UFC, what are their thoughts on that? Do they? I don't even know what.
Okay, so the way I made this happen was through Jeff Nowitzki. Jeff Nowitzki is the guy that busted Lance Armstrong. He's the golden snitch. He's one of my good friends.
He was the John Jones picogram, right?
Yes, exactly. That guy, the picogram guy. And I was working with them before this for CBD stuff. And I'm like, yo, he was texting me, and my girlfriend at the time was telling an organization that was my time too. That USADA doesn't test for psilocybin. They don't test for LSD. They don't really know how. It's not that hard, but they can't test for it. And then they say, well, we don't test. And I'm like, because you don't have a test. Like, you can add it in, but it's not part of this. It doesn't work this way, the way you're testing. And they know how healing it is. They know how good it is for people. So, they know that because of me. Because I started bombarding Jeff with emails about it. Because as I'm sitting there talking, I knew that Unlimited Sciences wanted to give my ex, who was a scientist, a UCLA professor, they wanted to give her studies. And when they talked to me, they're like, oh, cool, you're an advocate. Good job, little buddy. Pat on the head. Like, that's cute. And she got on the phone. They're like, hey, what do you want to do? She's like, I don't know. I haven't done it yet because it's illegal. They go, no, what do you want to do? We'll give you anything. Her resume is, she's my business partner still. I love her to death. I was just like, whoa, okay, you're powerful. Fuck yeah. So then I have, knowing all that, like a few days before, Jeff starts texting me. And I'm like, let's do a psilocybin study. You want me to start? I'm trying to do a CBD study for you guys, and it didn't work out. Let me do a psilocybin study. And he's like, no, man, that's illegal. And I was like, Jeff, read your emails. I'll show you all the information, but also I'm dating this person. I work with these organizations. He goes, okay, well, get me FDA approval and get me a major university. I was like, haha, I already got it. Because I knew that you'd ask for that because I just got my FDA approval with CBD, with my CBD company. Because I had called Unlimited Sciences before that, and Del Jolly over there was like, oh yeah, bro, we got you. FDA and Johns Hopkins. Mm-hmm. And, having Jeff go, wow, I'm really proud of you, man. Good job. All right, we'll come out to Vegas this weekend. So my girlfriend at the time, we went out there and got to take her to her first fight. Just got to be out there. I love the UFC. Got to talk to a bunch of fighters about it because people have been microdosing for a bit. There was only a few, but now it's becoming more and more. And I just parked her in front of Jeff, pressed the on button. She's also not just a professor, but was on TV selling her own products and stuff. Like very beautiful and good at what she does. And watching her knock it out of the park with Jeff was one of the coolest things ever. Because Jeff is jaws on the floor, just like, whoa, this is because if I say it to them, they're like, you're crazy, you're a fighter, like we know you're smarter than you look, but this is not how it works. Yeah. So it worked. Jeff goes, all right, let's get the ball rolling. Let's start the phone calls. And we started them. Finally, it got up to the top of the UFC, and the UFC said, hey, the bigwigs said, no, this is crazy. We love you, Ian, but no. I said, all right, whatever, that's fine. Like, I'm going to keep sending you information because number one, they wanted it. Number two, it's my life's work. I don't need them. I just wanted them really bad. And fast forward a year and a half, that process took like 6 months with them. And then another year and a half after they said no, my episode of HBO Real Sports came out and I sent it to Dana White. I've known Dana since I was a teenager. And, he's always been a really good person to me. Like, always been good to me. And he was like one of the first 3 people probably to text me back about it. Like, yo, man, this is really cool. Good job. I'm proud of you. I was like,
after he saw that.
Yeah. And a few days later, he had Jeff contact me. He didn't say anything, but he had Jeff contact me, and Jeff goes, all right, we want back in. So, I'm giddy like a little kid, and I make the connection again. And then I'm trying to think how far, maybe a month later, maybe less, probably about a month later, we had Spencer Fisher, famous fighter from back in the day, who never was champion or anything, but everyone loved him. Yeah. A guy in a lot of wars. He called Dana White out on having brain damage, and Dana was like, well, this is what we're doing. We're working with Johns Hopkins on a TBI study. Ian McCall is the one that set it up. He's been bugging us for years. And when him and Jeff mentioned my name in that, my validation in the space, in the business space specifically, skyrocketed. My stock went through the roof. Like I said, now I own part of a pharmaceutical company with Mike Tyson and Daniel Corcio. I'm the chief impact officer for Shroom Bloom Mushrooms out of Canada, publicly traded company. I mean, 2 companies that I'm with are going public this month. One's already public on the Canadian market, and Shroom Bloom will be public by the 31st. That's a good feeling. Apparently I'm going to be rich, like whatever. It's not why I did this. But it's funny to laugh because I'm winning a game, it's just another game that I can play. It's like, that's the thing. I stopped caring about it. I stopped chasing gold, and I won't do anything unless I'm helping people. And the fact that I can make the largest impact possible by using fighters as my case study is incredible, because this is the gross emotional part, gross part of the story. So you take 2 brains. I get to look at brain scans and all this stuff. They both look exactly the same, but they both have a lot of brain damage. This one on the right is an adult that lived a life, did everything, ended up getting a traumatic brain injury for whatever reason, a car accident or something they were trying to do, or riding a motorcycle, whatever. Their life is permanently changed for the worse. It's not good. And but they're adult. This is it. This over here, the brain damage looks exactly the same. This is a child. That child is repeatedly abused, raped, beaten, whatever it is. Brain damage looks the same, even if it's not physical. Like if it's not like a punch in the head, what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That brain damage looks the same. So why are we looking at people as they grow up as slutty or stupid or addicted and all these other terms we put on them?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because or at least looking at those words in such a negative light, you have to think, why? Why is this happening? What happened to these people? And these are our children, or these are us as children, as now adults acting out. And you know, if I can fix the fighters who are the most damaged, they're the ones that chose that path to climb into that cage for a living.
Mm-hmm.
Those people are fucked up. I know that because I'm one of them. And then on top of that, you climb into a cage in nothing, in front of a camera, and you bludgeon the people that you respect and love the most, and you give and receive PTSD for a living. You're literally giving and receiving the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
If I can fix those people, because mind you, and people keep giving me shit for this, children and adults are we're the same. We're biologically the same. Psychedelics do not affect anyone differently. Whether it's age, race, where you grow up, they all affect us the same. They make you better. And people trip out. They go, well, you can't get kids to psychedelics. I mean, yes, you can. Shaman do it all the time. I've met children who do it.
Mm-hmm.
I've met these kids. Like, and it sucks because we can't get our own kids to do it here because they carry less baggage. Realistically, it just becomes a pretty light show for them.
Yeah.
You know, like, and whether that's a teenager or a kid that's in you know, under 10 years old, I've sat with these kids and talked to them. I've sat with the parents and talked to them. I've sat with the healers and talked to them. You know, so if we can stop that cycle there, you know, and start to work on these people, obviously there's always going to be trauma. That's what we're monkeys. That's what we do to each other.
Yeah.
But, you know, if we can start to have tools to fix it, then we can truly evolve because, you know, we're at a place in society where we can do that. We can evolve and be safe and try and figure this out and try and, you know, and plus if we want to figure out how to be on Mars, it'll help if we're all taking a lot of psychedelics.
Yeah. So what would you recommend for the first time? I mean, first, is it a pill form or do you have to break it up? How do you take it?
It's a pill form.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So go ahead. Finish your question.
Well, for the second part, do you recommend, because I still have the mentality of, you know, going to O-free and being a knucklehead. I'm worried that I might take whatever dose and start running across the street naked and doing some weird shit. So do you recommend taking it in front of an educated person like yourself and that will, you know, make sure I don't do wacky shit?
Yes. For the big dose. This is what I recommend for my clients. I work with, I have a fancy title. I'm the first psychedelic integration coach for high level performers, whether that's public speakers or motivational people or athletes. It doesn't matter who you are. I work with addicted people I grew up with. I work with everybody. It just sounds nice for business. I recommend a big dose first.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you might be scared. You should be.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a healthy fear. As we get closer, I'll teach you that you don't need to be scared or that your type of fear is all right. Or we can at least switch the fear into a positive thing because setting intention are pretty much everything.
Mm-hmm.
You go into the big dose because a big dose will help you deal with who you are. That's the most important thing. If you are, say, a fighter climbing into that cage, I can't have your past traumas and addictions popping up and giving you anxiety and giving you octagon jitters.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that I get rid of those is by a big dose. It's dealing with the traumas and addictions, dealing with that deep-seated stuff because we have to get in there deep therapeutically and just rinse it out.
So
After that,
so you do the microdose or the big dose, and
big
then
dose.
you talk about what's inside and you talk about stuff.
Oh yeah, you sit in group. Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be in group. It can be just us two or something.
Yeah.
But I facilitate when I have to.
Mm-hmm.
If you want a real experience, I recommend a shaman, sitting with a shaman, or some sort of person. And now I can make that happen. That's just expensive and time. It's very time consuming. But let's say if someone like myself does it, or you do it on your own, it's about setting an intention. So mindset. What is your mindset? If it's scared, that's you have to work. You have to want to get super hard, and you're going to deal with some stuff that sucks. But then the intention is there. What am I looking to get out of this? What am I looking to accomplish?
Yeah.
And then and also, who am I around? What's the people I'm with? Where the place that I'm in? What's the music I have? Where's the space I have to lay down? Because you need to lay down, cover your eyes, or lay in the dark for the most part, and get it done.
Yeah.
Then all those things come up, and you can deal with them. Not really in the trip, but they come up, and you go through them. Then after, you still sit, because you sit in circle before, you sit in circle after, and you chat. Then you have what's called integration. So I'm an integration coach. So with integration, we sit there and we every week we go over the things that pop up in life. How are we integrating the things that you learned in your trip into your daily life? Hello, ladies. How are you making that work? And that's just daily work. It's also, hey, are you doing your breath work? Are you doing your meditation? Are you doing your workouts? Are you getting healthy food in? Because you should be on a diet before this stuff. You should be on a diet after. It's going to make you want to be healthier. The diet is a mandatory pretty much for ayahuasca. For mushrooms, not as much, but it will lead you to healthier habits for sure.
Real quick, what's the difference between ayahuasca and mushrooms? Because I've seen some stuff where ayahuasca people are getting with the shaman and drinking it. What's the difference between the two?
Molecularly, not much.
Yeah.
They both look very similarly as molecules. But a little oxygen, hydrogen, whatever it is. I'm not a biochemist. Placed on another little portion of it. The trip itself, you get a much more visual trip, geometric patterns, kaleidoscope stuff with ayahuasca. But that's because people aren't taking enough mushrooms. Realistically, they're not taking a bigger blend of it. It's got a larger profile of tryptamines. It seems in the ayahuasca where it'll give you that. I'm pretty sure. And like I said, I just took 20 grams of mushrooms. I can give you the same sort of really gnarly trip out of mushrooms that you can with ayahuasca. Like I said, it just takes more.
Yeah.
Just as transformative. It just depends what you're into. With ayahuasca, it's very purgative. You're gonna throw up, and you might purge it at both ends. Like I just watched one of my buddies down in Mexico just for the whole time. I was like, dude, that sucks. That really sucks.
So
but
is that a wasted journey? Is that
no. He went through a bunch of good stuff, but he had to go through it sitting on a toilet with a bucket in his lap, just farting and pooping and throwing up the whole time. And not I think it was one night mainly, but like that's sometimes it's what it's called. You have to just get that stuff out, and that could be like colon cancer too. That could be the things that ayahuasca. I've read books and talked to people that say have stories of them throwing up like a black mass. And like this is how ayahuasca cured my cancer. This is how it cured my IBS I just had. Like my stomach was a mess for a long time.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of stomach issues. I do. It sucks, man.
So I have colitis, so I'm in the same boat with you.
Okay, so you get it. Yeah, I had H. pylori really bad, and also vasovagal syncope. So the whole thing just links up. It's horrible, man. I was in and out of the hospital like 12 times in a couple of years. I mean, ayahuasca will completely redo your flora. That's one big thing about psychedelics. They help, especially specific ayahuasca. As you purge everything out, it's putting so much good stuff back in your stomach.
Yeah. Is there a certain amount of time frame where, like mushrooms, you said you could take them every day, right?
Yeah, I mean, as a microdose, not every day you should give your body. That's right. Time to reset. Like I haven't taken it in a few days. And that's you have to give your body time to reset and to see how it is in normality. You don't want to be high all the time.
Yeah. Well, so what is Dana and the UFC looking at? He's looking for more of the CT and the helping of the brain. Is he worried that the fighters will take it before they go into the cage? And like, what's his concern about it?
Hold on, let me turn off this Wi-Fi. Let me go over here where it's less quiet. The maids are here. I gotta stop calling maids. Can you hear me?
The house technicians? or house
Yeah,
engineer?
I grew up a spoiled kid. I'm like, the maids are here. No, my housekeeper. Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
There. All right, got my shit together.
We lost the video though.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so there's the beautiful ocean back there.
There we go. Nice.
Okay, so Dana White and them, no, they are not worried about it because people are already doing it. They know people are doing it. They know that microdosing protects you from further damage. It's and not just physical, but also the PTSD. It heals from old damage. So you've got some amazing qualities there, and it makes them perform better. If you get guys in a flow state, because that's what this does, is put you in a flow state. You're going to have people performing at a much higher level, you know. And yeah, they don't want them on steroids, so this is the best option, even over steroids. This is way better.
Yeah. Do you have a lot of fighters that you're working with that want to take them, and they're worried about Dana and the UFC or you know?
Well, no, because I've talked to Jeff about. Jeff is the one that told me these we don't test for these medicines. People can take them. Spread the word. So you know, so I'm working more at a. I've taken some time off from being an integration coach because I'm a public speaker and an educator, and I have, you know, a big job with this company, and I'm always doing business stuff. And you know, I just needed to take some time off of integration or being an integration coach because I had to work on myself. Mm-hmm. Realistically, I went through some very hard things in my life. You know, breakup and just some other stuff. And I wasn't in a place to help other people as much as I would like to. Mm-hmm. And now I'm getting back into it. I do feel, right now, you know, I'm working with people. I guess I back to it. I'm more in a spot where I'm this public speaker, you know, because I've been spending a lot of time with my kid, I guess. And I've been trying to hide from most people. I mean, after all that medicine, I needed to work on myself, you know, and get better before I really focus on others.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's segue into comedy. How you went over it real quick and earlier, but you're into comedy now. You're doing comedy. How'd that all start?
It starts with, you know, modern psychology and stuff, Western psychology, not working for me. I got asked to, you know, I got asked to leave. I got told by a very, very prominent ketamine clinic that they couldn't work with me anymore. I got told by a very well-known self-love coach, you know, like, I'm sorry, I'm ill-equipped to work with you. You're too fucked up. I was like, all right, we're good. Wow. I didn't want to do this anyways. So for me, it was, you know, it was just therapeutic. My buddy Zach Miller says, "Yo, man, we were doing green screen work at our CBD company. We have a whole production studio there, and we're screwing around." He goes, "Why don't you do comedy with me this weekend?" And I was like, "All right." He's like, "Really?" Like, yeah, I've always wanted to be a comedian. Like, the first two things I wanted to be as a kid was Robin Williams on stage as doing comedy, and I wanted to be a scientist. And then fighting took over, and I wanted to be a fighter over everything else. So I accomplished the fighting thing and became a world champion. I got as close to being a scientist as possible. And I was like, yeah, you know what? This is a good hobby. Comedy sounds cool. I get obsessed with stuff, and I have to get good at it. I don't like losing. And really, realistically, I'm losing to myself. I'm not trying to be better than everybody else. Well, I mean, I am trying to be better than everybody else, but it's not that sort of competition.
Yeah.
And my work ethic is pretty crazy. I just started doing it. And the first time I did comedy, I thought I did good, which I'm sure I didn't, but it was good enough for someone his first time. The second time I went, that was on a Friday. The second time was on a Monday, and I went to an open mic. And open mics are hard. They're very hard. I bomb at open mics all the time. I still bomb everywhere all the time. I did so poorly that, and at that point, I had healed, mainly physically, not so much emotionally. The last 2 years have been very, very, very much emotional healing for me. I felt something finally. Like my ex at that time, she was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're a sociopath." or a psychopath. She's like, you don't feel anything. Like things happen in my life, and like when fucking Sonny Garcia, tried to kill himself. Like I got that call, and I was just like, oh, okay. I'm just like back to work.
Yeah.
Where I've known Sonny for 20 years, like I couldn't cry. Like it fucked me up even worse that I couldn't deal with it.
Yeah.
And it was hard, and then the comedy was just therapeutic for me,
Yeah.
and even though I was sucking, I was miserable doing it because I would go, and especially every time I went to Hollywood, and I'm in Hollywood a few days a week, I would do a few sets and they would suck. And I was just like, it was so frustrating because I couldn't figure it out. Then COVID happened and I kind of got over comedy. Not kind of, I said, I'm done. I have to be a scientist. I was living with a scientist and we were going to get married and I was working on it. It was like, I was so focused on that because that had, it was true. I had to help build this industry and make it legitimate and do the things I've done. So, it was a short time, like 8 months of comedy. And then I stopped and then COVID and I wasn't writing jokes. And then all of a sudden one day I just went, I want to try this again. Now I have a whole different outlook. I'm a different person. My comedy is much different. It's, at the beginning of comedy, you're allowed to be gross and stupid. Like you're allowed to be, which is fine because I'm gross and stupid all the time. And so it's working. But I'm trying to put a very intellectual psychedelic spin on it where I teach about psychedelics. I have a puppet show and I also have a puppet show. So that's a good reason why I should be doing comedy because I got to get better at it. It's called The Puffets. It came out on 420. Stuff's on my social media. It's just trickling in like once a week. But man, we take puppets and we teach people about psychedelics. I'm basically like the new Count. Where I'm like 1, 2, I'm just talking about psychedelics. We've paired up with a company called Argos. They're a microdosing company here out of California where they sponsor everything and pay for the content basically. And we do education for them. I get my information from a place called The Third Wave, thethirdwave.co. It's the most in-depth informational source you can get on psychedelics. A good friend of mine, Paul Austin, he's the creator of it. And like that just shows you, I go and I get my information from the top sources because I know people. I know how some people look at me as a crazy person. So, whether it's the can you hear that vacuum?
No, I hear little birds back there, but I don't hear the vacuum.
Okay, cool. It's I use my platform to educate for psychedelics. That's all that I want to do, so whether that's comedy, like the other night I did my first paid gig in Burbank at the Comedy Chateau. And, I did all right. It was good work for me, right? I got to go up there and I got to kind of analyze the crowd and kind of pull jokes out of them. Yeah. Because, when I asked in the beginning, I was like, anyone here into drugs? Because I was explaining what I was doing for a living. And one guy in the back was like, whoa, all right, I do. And I was like, oh, shit. Well, I'm going to run with this one anyways and just educate people. But, to be able to be in the space, to see my peers, the level I'm at, where, like I've only been doing this for not that long. And I'm already with the people that have been doing it for like 5 years. I get to sit in that range from 2 to 5. And I'm comfortable there. Sure, I'm not the best. That's fine. I'm not trying to be, right now. I'm just trying to work.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Have you asked any advice from Joe Rogan, especially with the microdosing and comedy? I mean, seems like it'd be a good mentor.
Joe and I were close for a while, and we haven't talked in years. And realistically, I know more about microdosing than Joe does, a lot more. But I can teach him some shit. No, I don't know. I've heard him talk about my study a bunch on his show, but he's never brought up me, which is kind of annoying. I'm like, yo, I did that. I know I did that. We used to be friends, you dick. But again, we just don't talk anymore. I would love to do a show. I'd love to, but we don't talk. So it's one of those things where I just kind of go, I don't need to do it. I'll get there eventually, or
Yeah.
You know, when that stuff happens, it happens. Right now I'm busy, I'm working, you know, I'm a little bit of a hot commodity right now, so it's cool.
So who are your favorite comedians? You mentioned Robin Williams earlier, but who are some of your favorite comedians now?
Robin Williams, George Carlin, and Eddie Murphy for sure from back then.
Yeah.
You know, like I just back from the back in the day, the new guys. Chappelle is just so good. I mean, you can't like Chappelle, Joe. Those guys are great. I mean, there's so many good people out.
Yeah.
You know, I get to. I have a new podcast that's out called The Silly Guys. PSYLY. And
What was it again?
Silly Guys, like psilocybin, but guys, you know, silly like PSYLY. I'm doing it with Frank Castillo, who's out of the Comedy Store. He's passed at the Comedy Store. His name's on the wall. He won roast battle. He's become a mentor to me. You know, like even though he's younger than me, he's been mentoring me through comedy, and it helped me out a lot. It's cool because now I'm signed with an agency called LMG. I'm, you know, once a week, twice a week, I'm in front of a camera at that studio in Costa Mesa, recording with other you know, established comics that are traveling, making money. And I know I'm not. I mean, I made money the other night. I made $20. $20 is $20, man.
Yeah, it is.
I'm not in this. I'm retired. I don't ever have to work again. I'm not in this for the money. That's just an added bonus, and it's cool to think like, cool, I get paid for the gas at least, you know.
Yeah.
I have to close this window. But it's a new life that gives me a bigger platform, a new platform to build on, and it's a lot of fun. You know, I love the work. I love the people. Comedians are, you know, they're weird and they're messy and they're interesting folks. You know, I've only really hung out with fighters my whole life.
Yeah.
You know, besides them, a lot of dangerous people. You know, gangsters and those sorts.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I do know why. I was selling drugs and I was being that kind of person. But like that's what I gravitated towards. And now that I'm healed and I'm better and I'm a different person, I was around the yoga community, the healing community for a while, and it didn't work out because they're not like me. I can eat them, you know, and they feel it. They're very energetically, hey man, whoa, you're intense, sort of shit. I'm like,
yeah.
Like I let you, you know, verbally diarrhea all over me, and I had to hold you and help you and do this stuff. And then once I started talking about my trauma, you're like, oh, this is too much. You know, I'm like, yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah.
I've never had more people stab me in the back and lie to me and cheat me. And, you know, it wasn't my scene. And I still love those people. I just don't hang out with them.
Yeah.
So I find myself, you know, now I'm kind of a gatekeeper, almost not a gatekeeper. I'm a facilitator for these veterans,
Mhm.
you know, these fighters, soon to be the comics, you know, because we're all really screwed up. We all have a lot of issues, and the comics are even a little like, well, man, you're intense, because I guess I am. But I'm the guy that gets to take. You know, I've got some hitmen that are friends of mine. They used to be hitmen, you know, that are now business people, or they moved on in life, and I'm sure some of them are still doing it. To gangsters, to fighters, to the veterans, I get to put them in a safe container in this world, bring them across to the next world, to a shaman or to a medicine where they die. They have ego death,
Yeah.
and from there, food. Yeah, no, I'm gonna fast today. I love you, my mom. And I get to bring them to meet their death. They die, and I get to bring them home safely.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my role in the psychedelic space. You know, that's the place I found myself most comfortable. You know, but also socially, comics are, you know, I jive with them well.
Yeah.
Like I haven't really been eating a bunch of psychedelics with comics outside of like microdosing in my show and having fun. But, you know, once we start doing the work with comics, I'm excited because I need to understand them better because I'm one of them.
Yeah.
You know, and just like the intellectuals that I studied while I was on psychedelics, I get to sit with the smartest people in the world. It's really cool. And that's been happening for a long time. I mean, years. where I've always found these very smart friends of mine, very smart, mentors of mine, whether it's a doctor, a scientist, or whatever. And they're like, yeah, let's eat some mushrooms or whatever. And let's just hang out and talk, listen to music.
Yeah.
And to be able to philosophize with these people that's my education, realistically. I mean, whether they're people from like the original scene in psychedelics, like Robert Forte or Dr. James Fadiman that I get to work with, or, shamans from all over the world. I mean, I get to hang out with some really cool people, and I'm just always learning. I'm always listening and intently asking questions, and just trying to learn, because it's my job to educate everybody.
Yeah.
I might not want to hang out with everybody, but I definitely want to educate everybody.
Yeah. What's your new job? I know you started out by saying you start a new job on the 1st. What are you getting?
I'm the chief impact officer for Shroom Bloom Mushrooms out of Canada, publicly traded by the end of the month. They are a great brand. I talked to a bunch of people in the space. Like I said, I was working with Mike Tyson and Daniel Garcia for a while. I was talking to like big companies, the biggest in the space, and like you have all these salesmen and these business people that I was like, I like you. You guys are cool, but you're trying to prove to me how cool you are constantly, or you're like, some people could just try to sell me some snake oil or just deals that weren't that cool. And I'm in my mind, I'm thinking, well, I'm being offered this from this company and you're giving me somewhere down there. And it was just to see the industry and to meet a lot of people was cool. Because, again, I don't have anything bad to say about anybody, because they're all doing their thing and they're doing the work. It's cool. But I like working with these people the most. They're a tech company. Mm-hmm. They're a medicinal mushroom brand. They have a psychedelic brand that I'll be running most of, or at least the content. I've got a new podcast. So I have the comedy show with Frank, and then I have a more in-depth, long form podcast about like the real meat and potatoes of people's healings. That's called Getting to Bloom. We haven't even started recording yet. I have to build the studio first. Looking at a travel show for this company, because this company doesn't have a story, and there's a lot of stories to be told in the space. My story only goes so far. People know who I am. They've heard my story before. Now it's about getting other people's stories. And realistically, it's all my friends. I got a bunch of celebrity friends, from whether they're A-listers or down to just people that you don't know about, that are making the music for people like Bieber and making music with Quincy Jones and that sort of level people, but maybe people don't know their names. Maybe they don't have money or a big following, but the creativity and the knowledge that comes from these people. I've got some really cool friends, and I'll be able to take these people from here or wherever they are in the world to, say, Jamaica. And we go to somewhere like Micro Meditations or whatever place I want to work with, because at Shroom Bloom, we don't have retreat centers. We don't do that. We're not running FDA trials. We're just making superior products. So that means I can work with everybody. I can go wherever I want. I can go into Mexico to Shamba Latte and take, a group of people down there to ingest mushrooms with Mazatec shaman, or I can take them to Micro Meditations with Mike Lubsha and those guys over there that are doing good work. I want to show a lot of people in the space and say, look at this is this place, this is that place, this is how they do it, because different strokes for different folks. Mm-hmm. But all along the way, get to tell the story of, like my first episode is going to be the story of our puppet show and the guys that I do it with. And I'm sure we'll end up in Jamaica because, he knows he's worked with the Marleys. So I can add in hanging out with the Marleys and bringing them. I don't know. There's so many ideas to do. I'm excited to do it all, and to get back down to the jungle, because I miss the jungle a lot. The jungle's, as much as I love it here in San Clemente and Orange County in California and America, and how safe it is and how happy it is. And, people want to make a big deal out of everything that's going on, which I get it. There's a lot of bad stuff going on. This place is still great.
Yeah. So
I love it here, but I got to get back down to my second home in Mexico, or just in the jungle somewhere. I have to be there soon.
Well, growing up in Orange County and traveling like to Jamaica and Tulum and stuff. I know Tulum doesn't have surf, but do you surf a lot?
No. I grew up with all the people at Creek. Yeah. At Salt Creek, with you name it. Everyone was there back in the day. And then I just don't surf. Charlie don't surf, man. I like the ocean has tried to kill me here and in Brazil and in Costa Rica and Mexico. And I'm not built for surfing. You would think I'd be really good at surfing. I'm 5'4" and 3/4. I'm really physically talented. We never meshed. And, but my daughter, she wants to surf. My dad's a waterman. For me, I like Tulum because, it's just so pretty and it's mellow. And I feel bad. I got mad at this. I didn't get mad at her, but I shut her down. Her saying, "Well, Tulum is such a spiritual vortex," and I was just looking at her while she's dressed like a Jedi for the weekend. Like just thinking, like, you have no idea what you're talking about. Just because you're wearing a mala and that outfit, like your outfit is see through. I can see your G-string on it. Like you're, and it's not even cultural appropriation.
Yeah.
It's spiritual appropriation. And these spiritual bypassing sort of thing. But Tulum is very spiritual. It is a vortex of energy, which again, people always, I know I seem crazy, but you just got to go feel it down there. I'm 10% Native American, and I'm pretty sure it's down into like Nuevo Leon, Mexico, where my family's from, or from Spain to Nuevo Leon.
Yeah.
And I don't know, but I feel I resonate with Mexico a lot. I went there my whole childhood. So, it's a very interesting place that I like, and it's booming. I can make money there, and I can, I can buy real estate, and I can just do the stuff that I want to do. So, yeah, Mexico's my place.
Well, we go to Mexico. We go to Cabo. We go to the other side.
Of course.
Yeah, we're actually going there in a week or two. But you speak Spanish?
Muy poquito. I'll go down to Cabo to kill some fish for sure.
Yeah.
And I know the whole seaspiracy thing. I get it. We should. I was raised on fish. Yeah. I'm one of the first people to say, okay, yeah, I'll take a break. Like I'll take a break from fish for a while. Like, and it sucks because I love fish so much, but I love the ocean more.
Yeah.
And I went out last summer and we limited out on bluefin. It was incredible, but you do as a kid, you see it's all different now. The fish are not the same size. I mean, they've been running recently, but I could take a fish. I could take a fish. I could take a break from fish for a couple of years for sure.
Yeah. Well, Mexico is one of my favorite spots too. I'd move there in a heartbeat if we didn't have all the ties out to here in California. But
that's honestly why I'm here, is my daughter and my ex-wife, and like otherwise I'd probably be in Tulum area. I mean, because I work from home, I work remotely, I can educate from anywhere with a good signal. It just makes sense. I also like Bali a lot. Bali's rad.
And you don't surf. You're killing me.
I know, dude. I'd rather work out on the beach and hang out. I'd rather go adventure. Like I don't know. I just surfing and me just don't mix. I don't know what it is. I have an aversion to water from as a kid. I think I almost drowned a few times as a kid and had, really bad ear infections, and I don't know. That seems to be the source of it.
Yeah. So do you miss fighting at all? I know you retired. I know you've gotten all your hands and everything else. Do you miss fighting at all?
No. I'm over it. I've been over it for a long time.
Yeah.
I was over it before I retired. And the medicines have shown me a lot. Every time, I do get a little attitude or something, an ego gets up, I'll like this most recent trip in Mexico, the last night, a big part of it was big part of the whole week was, okay, the fighter dies. The fighter finally dies. Before the last night, my buddy Rudy and my buddy Alex, a few guys, veterans, they're all special forces dudes. You ready, champ? You ready? Last round. You ready for this? And I was like thinking, I'm like, why are you talking like that? I'm not here to fight. And then by the end of the sentence, I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm ready. I'm gonna go in there and I was just thinking, okay, small cup, not a big boy cup, small cup, and just sail off into the sunset. This one's gonna be easy. And that's exactly why they did that. I'm sure, subconsciously. Universe energy wise, I went in there, and because the first night I fought everything. I was a warrior. Stupid. That didn't work the first night very well. But this last night I went in and right away I come from Kung Fu. That's my background in martial arts, since I was a little kid, 4 years old. The first person I ever studied was the first philosophy I ever studied. The first books I read were Bruce Lee. You know, that was my first teacher and that sort of stuff. I felt his death inside of me. I studied him for so long, and I felt the loss of everything that he gained and all the family and so much. And it brought me back to Kung Fu. Why am I not doing Kung Fu? I grew up with a sword in my hand. Why haven't I held a sword in forever? Mm. You know, that would make me truly happy. And then along that same line, I also went through a lot of fighting stuff where I relived a lot of violence, you know, in the cage and in the training that I did. And it made me fall back in love with what happened. Because I hated the whole thing for so long because of who it made me, who I had to become that person. I wasn't proud of it. I wasn't happy about it. And I didn't like that person. I still don't like that person. But I was able to shake that crust off the negative and just go, look how much fun I had. Like, I had a big smile on my face, getting punched in the face and punching other people in the face. And I made good money, and that's where I earned my name, my recognition in life. People still recognize I'm one of the best fighters ever of all time. You know, I'm one of the guys that showed that. Of course, I'm not the only one, but there's more of us are at that level than you think. We're at that great level, at that elite level. You know, and sure, my time there lasted very shortly, but still, you know, I came out of the other end. You remember Roberto Duran?
Mm-hmm. No mas.
How he said no mas.
Yeah.
Jose, the owner of Arcana, which is this place, that they have the retreat center I was at. You know, we're working together now, and he goes after the first day, he goes, all right, it's big boy cup time. You got to take some big boy cups. Like we're gonna do this work together. You got to take some big boy cups. I was like, all right. And those first two big boy cups that second night were that was hard. But it released some of the most damaging stuff to myself that I needed to release. Well, I get up there the first night, and he goes, all right, last big boy cup. Or he said, another big boy cup. And I did one big boy cup, and he put me right back in the space. Well, when he turns on his little flashlight, click, because you're always in the dark. And he goes, all right, you know, second and final cup of the week, you know, who's up? I couldn't control myself. I stood up, I covered my ears. I just like, no mas, no mas, no mas, no mas. And I walked outside and I sat down, and I was defeated. I quit. I started crying. I was just like, you know, because I'm still in the medicine, obviously. And I just sat there just so defeated, looking out into the sacred geometry of the jungle. You know, I do a lot of talking to the jungle. I speak to the jungle a lot. And it's taught me a lot of things. And I'm looking at it. You know, you can see the moon through all the leaves. I just came to the realization, like, dude, you're not a fighter anymore. You can give up. You can quit. Who gives a shit? It's fine. You're good.
Yeah.
And I started to kind of, I can laugh during anything. And I started to laugh, and I just started to just like, okay, it's over. It's finally over. You know, I'm finally past that. You know, and then of course I couldn't go back in the room for another hour maybe, until one of the shaman, Sada, she came out and she's like, you need to come back inside. And you know, it was gnarly. And it was very, very, very relieving. You know, so yeah, I'm done. I don't ever want to do that stuff again. And it's cool because I'm going to the fights in Arizona June 12th, I think it is, to go watch the Adesanya fight. Mm-hmm. But yeah, just to go watch, just to go see Dana and everybody and just hang out. You know, I miss those people. It's been too long.
So when you go to those fights, no itch comes back to get in there? It's done?
No. I mean, not at all. I just want to help these people. Yeah. I do. I want to help these people. I mean, even when I was in the UFC, like, I was doing crazy stuff. Like, I took 5 grams, which is a heroic dose, and went to the fights. Inappropriately amount of mushroom, but they always knew. You know, if Ian has his sunglasses on and he's inside, he's not a dick. You just don't want to. You should let him keep his glasses on and don't talk to him, or don't make him do too much. Like, because I've done interviews with the UFC. I think that night. I've talked to media. I talked to Dana. I talked to people, but like, I you know, just let me be me. for a while. Obviously, I wouldn't do that again. That's too much to take to the fights, but I was crazy.
Did they all know at the time that you were doing it, or did something came out later?
They did. I don't think they knew what it was, but they're not stupid. You know, I used to show up with Chuck, just like, what are we gonna do? What do you guys want to put? Where are we going after this? You know, just like, you know, high on all kinds of stuff. So at least it looked much more calm. It wasn't as obvious.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I appreciate your time and your honesty and your openness about this. You got my interest. I mean, how do I'll reach out to you later, but how do people find you if they want to know more about it and maybe experience some of the microdosing?
So go to themccallmethod.com.
Okay.
Like I was saying, I'm not a drug dealer. I don't give anyone medicine unless it's, you know, through ceremony. And through ceremony, you end up becoming a member of a church. So then you have a very recognized church in this country for plant medicine. So then I'm allowed to give medicine to another church member legally, federally, legally. You know, but there's work to be done. You have to check those boxes if you want to do this the right way. So go to themccallmethod.com or hit me up on Instagram. I have the McCall Method. I have Uncle Creepy MMA is the same fighting nickname I still have that I can't get rid of because it's going to cost me thousands of dollars.
I wanted to start this whole conversation with that nickname, but we got so much into flowing about other stuff. How did that nickname come about?
My friend's son, who calls me Uncle Ian, so I've always made fun of people with nicknames. Nicknames to me are silly. You're like the Huntington Beach bad boy. I'm like, really, are you though? Like, come on, Tito, stop it. You gave yourself that nickname. Or Chuck Liddell. You know, you're gonna freeze me. You're the Iceman. Like, that's stupid. And it's always someone else who gives you the nickname. No one ever gave me a nickname.
Yeah.
And finally, I was trying to put Cade to bed. Uncle Ian, Uncle Ian, Uncle Ian, Uncle Ian, Uncle Creepy. And everyone was hammered that night. I was a sober guy. I just got out of rehab. I was driving everybody around, taking care of the kid who needs to go to bed, you know, being a good uncle. And he said, Uncle Creepy. And my buddies sat up out of their drunken stupor and they're like, that's it. That's your nickname. And I had just gotten out of rehab. I never thought I was going to fight again. I took a fight a month or so later, maybe less than that, because I needed money. And I put Uncle Creepy down as a joke and everyone loved it. And then the next fight after that, I was the best in the world. And it just stuck. The UFC, everyone loved it. They ran with it. It was the thing. And I was like, this name is so stupid. Why? What? Why am I stuck with this? But now I'm stuck with it. And I need to change it on Instagram or on through Facebook, but trying to charge me like $5,000. I'm like, fuck you.
I think you're stuck with it. Does anybody recognize you and say, hey, Uncle Creepy, Uncle Creepy?
All the time. And now when people recognize me, it's two ways. Either an adult goes, is that you? I'm like, what? Like, and I just go, yeah. They're like, dude, you look so much different. I'm like, you know, I got a beard and I'm just getting older and I'm wearing a hat. And I'm like, oh, no, it's there. I'm like, yeah, I look this way. I look different for a reason. I don't want to look like that person.
Yeah.
I'm also a lot bigger. My face is fuller, but like with kids, they go, it's usually their dad goes, you know who this is? And they go, Uncle Creepy. And they go, oh, Uncle Creepy. Yeah. I've used you on the video game. The video game is pretty cool. And I'm like, damn it.
I don't think you're getting rid of that name.
No, it's the scientific community looked at me like I was insane for having it. But you know, it'll get switched to Ian McCall eventually once my agency does it, because I'm not going to pay $5,000 to do it.
Yeah,
that's kind of crazy. And I've heard people offer me like 10 to 15 grand to change it. And I was like, no, get out of my house. Beat it.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you very much for the time and the honesty. I learned a lot about this. This is great. I'm definitely going to explore more, and I'll probably reach out to you soon about it.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Just hit me up.
Okay.
I'll be around.
Well, thank you, Ian. I really appreciate it. I'll say Ian. I won't call you your nickname, but thank you. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Shoots.
All right. See you, brother.